Whoa, lots of crazy action happening right now in Congress surrounding your freedoms and your health. And surprisingly, the battle could actually be won in favor of the people. What in the world's going on here? There are a bunch of brave members of Congress raising very serious issues and concerns, specifically about glyphosate, especially when it comes to FISA, especially when it comes to the car kill switch that I think are more important than ever, as there's a Supreme Court case happening right now about glyphosate that I think we need all of our attention on, especially after the MAHA betraying executive order, as we have a lot of very prominent people speaking out against the most important issue of all, American health, which is in severe decline. I think it's a planned agenda, personally, myself here, as the fight now, I think, is more important than ever, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this particular video. If you appreciate it, subscribe, click the notification button, as I think these issues are important. As this week, Congress is going to be voting on FISA, the Farm Bill reconciliation, as Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna says, why does anyone think it's a good idea to bundle these three wildly different pieces of legislation in a single rule? It's not. As I agree with her, as she has been on a tear this morning going up against glyphosate. As, of course, there's now a Supreme Court case being heard involving the Roundup weed killer lawsuit. If you remember, we've been speaking about Monsanto for like 16 years on this channel. I remember covering the major rallies against Monsanto. Monsanto was bought up by Bayer, and their product has been found to hurt people in courts of law, and people are being paid restitution after dealing with glyphosate. And now the case centers whether Bayer, which now owns Monsanto, could be shielded from thousands of state-level lawsuits claiming that glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, quote, causes cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the company, quote, failed to warn users. The Trump administration sided with Bayer, arguing that federal pesticide regulations preempt state warnings. Justices appeared divided, and a decision is expected by late June, as this hearing just began here. Now, this is a major issue, especially after Donald Trump signed an executive order on February 18th of this year, invoking the Defense Production Act to prioritize, secure the domestic production of glyphosate, as many people scientifically link it to a lot of very serious health issues, not just with human beings, but also with the bees. Del Bigtree was on Redacted explaining the kind of situation of what Monsanto, Bayer now is arguing with the federal government, as there's major key members of Congress going up against it.
Safety review. Why? Because it doesn't need to do it. It can't be sued. So what difference does it make? It doesn't care about safety. So here we are, modern times, now in 2026. What did Bayer Monsanto do? It is saying the same thing. We are losing so much money from these death and injury cases, we can't make a profit. So here's what they did to Donald Trump. We are going to pull glyphosate, which is used by 90% of farmers and 90% of our crops across America. We're going to take it away from them, and we're going to devastate your farming industry. We're going to shut it down unless you stockpile this product in America and you protect us from liability. So unfortunately, I think we thought that Donald Trump had the type of ego and strength to stand up against those, sort of corporate pressures, blackmail, if you will, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. But here we see even he drops to his knees when a too big to fail corporation threatens him on that level.
Yeah, and that's the argument. That's the battle here right now, right? It's like, are we really going to allow Bayer, Monsanto, to kind of call the shots here after invoking so much injury and damage on the American people? There's very serious conversations about our crops, our farming techniques here that needs to be reevaluated very seriously. And we're not doing any of that. We're just saying, yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. We'll protect you. What? After creating so much harm and injury against the American people? Del Bigtree later on in an interview describes the kind of court proceedings that are happening now.
Democracy, you're destroying capitalism. And to see that happening coming from Donald Trump, as I said, this is not a great day for his administration. I hope, that the Supreme Court stays strong, realizes it's supposed to be representing the will of the people. But look what the precedents this would send. Essentially,
Now, the decision is going to be made in a few weeks from now, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that the American people are protected here, right? So are the small farmers. Now, there's big agriculture here, and there's a lot of very serious problems with big agriculture, monocropping, and of course the depletion of any type of nutrients, minerals from our soil as our food is becoming less nutritious. One of the reasons why I created my own vitamin store, because it's I'm big into holistic nature stuff, but unless you're growing it yourself, it's very hard to trust stuff, especially now with even Whole Foods having Bill Gates's plastic appeal wrapped on a lot of their produce that are labeled organic. And a lot of this is also just whitewashing this whole type of food industry that people think they're buying, that is healthy, that is sustainable, that is grown from good places. And in reality, we're finding out, wait, there's a lot more to this than we're actually being told.
I understand the case. They are trying to say that since the EPA already determined that glyphosate is safe over a decade ago, that the EPA is taking on that responsibility. Therefore,
they fudged the data. They fudged the studies, just like Pfizer did. They should be held accountable too. Todd Blanche making some big moves at the DOJ. I just did a video about that right before this one. Go check that one out. I'm actually shocked. I'm actually surprised. And I think I was wrong about Todd Blanche. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong here. Before playing more clips and Thomas Massie, who's kind of leading on this fight, just really quickly, we wanted to tell you about WeAreChange.shop, my shop, my store. I created it. Why? Because supplementation now is important. Joe Rogan even makes the argument saying, yeah, you kind of need to supplement now. That's why I created WeAreChange.shop. I got a lot of great, incredible supplements available on there. And one of the ones is Liposol Vitamin C. I really like Liposol Vitamin C. It's a very strong antioxidant. It is fat soluble, so make sure you take it with fat. I like to take it with my lunch. I really do enjoy vitamin C. And it's something that I take during my trips. So I'm here at the Bitcoin conference. I traveled. I got out of my dungeon lair in Miami. I didn't want to. I was like, I just want to stay home with my chickens and my dogs and my little farm as I'm growing my own food now. But I'm like, okay, I'll travel and I'll take vitamin C. As a lot of people talk about how it protects cells by neutralizing reactive oxygen species. Right? That's what this thing says here. As I just use this stuff in order to prevent myself from getting sick, especially on trips, especially when I'm around a lot of people. I'm shaking a lot of hands. I'm meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of you fans, and it's awesome. It's incredible to meet a lot of you guys, to see you guys eye to eye, face to face, and to get to know a lot of you guys. But check out WeAreChange.shop. Support us, support yourself. Sadly, a lot of our food is being depleted of a lot of essential nutrients. I wonder why. As of course, Monsanto had a revolving door with a lot of regulatory government agencies that in many instances gave them a blank check. And in many times they bought off the scientists, they bought off the studies, and they're like, look, we're safe. And it's like, really? Bill Gates, one of the biggest investors in Monsanto. And there's a reason why this whole Epstein class not being held accountable is so bad for everybody. I would say this is part and parcel one of the reasons.
We shouldn't be able to be sued. We should have an automatic liability from the approval by the EPA. Well, think about that. The reason Robert Kennedy Jr., I think, made it as far as he did in the campaign we ran, one of the most successful independent campaigns ever since Ross Perot, he ran on cleaning up corporate corruption. We know there's a revolving door inside of these regulatory agencies, FDA, EPA, CDC.
Yep, and a lot of them are like, oh, we ran Monsanto. Now we're running your government. It's like, hold on here. As Mike Adams says, your government wants to poison you, depopulate you, of course. Pesticides, herbicide manufacturers are happy to profit off of mass chemical poisoning, too. As Thomas Massie sounding the alarms here, as he is describing how Congress is on the verge of handing Monsanto total immunity to, quote, poison Americans.
One of the things in the Farm Bill, I'm still trying to get out of it, was successful in getting this out of prior bills, is immunity for a German company called Bayer that makes glyphosate. This is not...
Bayer, by the way, like, they've knowingly spread HIV from their medications. It's like, oh yeah, they're the guys tied into the Germans in the 1930s, by the way. Oh yeah, those guys. You would think the left would be up in arms, like, oh... But the left's probably secretly financing these people at this point with how crazy things are. Where's the left? They call everyone an N-word. Where's Mark Levin? He calls everyone an N-word. This is an actual company with N-words tied into them from the Germans in the 1930s. Mark Levin is calling everyone else the N-word. the redheaded libertarian made a very good post. I'm going to try to find it right now. It's on my timeline because I retweeted it. I was just going on a tear retweeting all this stuff about glyphosate and all this other stuff. But here's like, she released, here's a list of everyone that Mark Levin labeled an N-word. And then literally he's like, we have to ban and limit all these people's speeches. And it's like, yeah, he called... He calls random people that word here, college students, Democrat, and it's like it's the whole debate about this is just so asinine.
Not to grant farmers immunity. This is to grant the corporation immunity if they give if farmers contract a form of cancer or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from this chemical. If this makes it into the Farm Bill, you won't be able to sue for that. And I know they're dealing with some similar legislation at the state level.
Yeah, I think we should be protecting farmers. I think farmers being protected. As MTG came out and criticized the Trump administration and their executive order and their backing of Bayer in the Supreme Court, which looks like is regarding what Del Bigtree described as this type of exploitation by Bayer against the U.S. government, right? As there was a rally outside of the Supreme Court. Dennis Kucinich was there, former member of Congress. He's just done some really cool stuff. I don't always agree with him, but he was a big part of RFK Jr. He was a big part of the MAHA movement. And this is what people were saying outside.
Right now, inside that building, Monsanto Bayer will be arguing for the right to poison us and not be held accountable. Let me say that again. They want to give us cancer and get away with it. We are here to make sure that does not happen.
And we are not going to leave here quietly. You're going to hear from farmers, scientists, lawmakers, and health leaders from across the country. We have all come here to take a stand. We see exactly what's happening, and we're done pretending this is normal. And let's be very clear. You cannot claim to care about health while protecting poison. You cannot tell Americans to eat real food while protecting the cancer-causing chemicals sprayed on it. You cannot stand with families and side with one of the most evil corporations in the world. Let's be honest. We wouldn't be here right now if President Trump didn't sign that executive order. We wouldn't be here right now if they weren't inside this building arguing on Monsanto's behalf. We wouldn't be here right now if they didn't submit that amicus brief and that recommendation to the Supreme Court to look at this case when they've lost all over this country.
Yeah, the lawsuits all over this country are pretty eye-opening, to say the least here. Congressman Thomas Massie was also out there speaking. As Rob Schneider says, this is not the United States of Bayer Monsanto and their cancer-causing killer glyphosate. This is the United States of, quote, America.
Americans are under attack. There are four fronts to this war with the German company. They're attacking our executive branch, our legislative branch at the state level, our legislative branch here in Washington, D.C., and the courts. And what do they want? They want get-out-of-court-free cards. You're not going to give it to them. Was the EPA established to protect the environment and the people? Or was it established to protect foreign corporations when they harm the environment and the people?
Now, a lot of people are like, what capitalism? It's not capitalism when, like, literally they're being federally protected from liability, right? It's like, hey, can we have some liability? Nope. And look, Trump did this with Pfizer, too. I'm not a big fan of that. I highly criticize that. And a lot of people are putting pressure on this administration to not approve this. I mean, RFK Jr., a lot of people are like, RFK Jr., what are you doing? He's like, oh, Dunkin' Donuts has too much sugar in their coffee. Okay, I get it. Okay, cool. Everything has too much sugar in it now. Like everything, I'm traveling, I'm on the road. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take a drink. And I'm like, this is disgusting. This is the diabetes drink. People's livers are shot. They don't even drink alcohol. They just drink sugary drinks all the time, and their livers are shot. They have liver disease from all the sugary drinks that they drink. I used to be caught up in this. I was like, I'm drinking some green tea. It has ginseng in it. I thought, yeah, it's good for you. High fructose corn syrup to the max. And I had to wind myself off of that stuff. As a young kid, I was like, yeah, it's green tea. It's healthy. I had a whole jug of it. I used to drink a jug a day. And I'm like, this is disgusting. This is awful. After realizing it, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Right? Every time I go to the store, I'm like, give me more, like half of whatever the sugar content you usually give people. Because people are addicted to it, don't even know it. Right? Their brains are wired. And their taste buds adapt. Once you get off of sugar, your taste buds adapt to it, and it no longer starts to taste good. It starts to taste disgusting because it is disgusting. And again, like, granted, all right, RBG, okay, Dunkin' Donuts is sure, okay, but like, there's bigger fights out there. I think the glyphosate fight is also very important, and I think far more important than just kind of shaming Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, there should be a big information campaign. There should be efforts to try to limit all that stuff, and I get it. I like RFK Jr., even though we clashed on the Timcast show. I think anyone in a position of power, or trying to get into a position of power, should be, challenged, even if, they're on our side. But some of the work that he's done has been great, but it's pretty clear that he's been stopped from doing the very important work, right? So this is where a lot of people have their frustrations, as Anomaly came out and said, for the record, RFK Jr. is folding himself into a pretzel to defend Trump's glyphosate executive order, and he's tricking MAHA moms into thinking there's some sort of plan to wean off glyphosate over time. There isn't. Trump admin has no plan to do it. They're doing, quote, the opposite here. Now, Congresswoman Anna Paulino-Luna, she's been on a tear, right? She's been going off specifically against glyphosate. And now she's talking about how Mike Johnson is trying to put FISA, the Farm Bill, all under the same rule. As she says, separate them. You go on her Twitter post and she's going off, right? So I really do appreciate these rallies, the people versus poison rally outside of the Supreme Court. I think we need to speak out more than ever about this stuff. Even DC Drano, who is a big type of Trump backer and supporter, he says we need to fully ban Monsanto and others from putting glyphosate in our food supply. This isn't a difficult decision. Get it done. There are many other alternatives. There's other ways of dealing with this situation. Yes, weeds are bad, right? But there's also other ways, especially when it comes to the massive amounts of damage that Monsanto has done to small and local farmers. Now, Daniel Long on Twitter goes along and says, Roundup often gets a bad rap since it, causes cancer and other terminal illnesses. But don't forget, it played a huge role in collapsing the bee population, which may lead to significant suffering in the long run. Yeah. As now we're also hearing that Roundup is being deployed in private and public forest at record rates. Why are we doing this? As people are saying, there's a secret plan. Mother Jones is talking about how we are bombarding America's forest with Roundup. Why? I used to tell people, go touch grass. I'm like, now they have alpha-gal ticks. Now they have glyphosate everywhere. Can't even hug a tree anymore without being eugenicized by the predator class out there that I think clearly has a larger agenda to depopulate the world. As, of course, fertility is going down, life expectancy is going down, overall health is going down, obesity is going up, cancer is going up. As Mother Jones says, scientists are wary of glyphosate. MAHA loads it. And our year-long investigation shows California is spraying it everywhere. Why are you doing that? In the remote northeast California, about 10 miles outside the lumber mill town of Chester and a half-hour drive from old hunting cabin I bought and fixed up about a decade ago, I steer my old Toyota Tacoma down a bumpy road to where the Lassen National Forest gives way to private timberland. And then they go on talking about how that area was sprayed.
Deep in the forests of California, I made a startling discovery.
My initial reaction was what is that?
A powerful corporation with decades of influence, rewriting science to serve their own agenda, and the secret plan that made it all possible.
That's, listen. Congresswoman Anna Paulino-Luna, 150% higher cancer risk from pesticide exposure, higher cancer risk. ScienceDaily.com, right? And I got to shout out these members of Congress. Shouts out to Anna Paulino-Luna. Shouts out to Thomas Massie. This guy needs to win re-election, in my own personal opinion, right? as this issue is very important. Anna Paulina Luna also says people over pesticides. Yeah, 110% agree. The fact that now this stuff is in our forest without our permission, I mean, we had RFK Jr. speaking about this so importantly before he got into this position of power, where now the government's official line is like, yeah, we're going to fight for them.
We shouldn't be talking about glyphosate. We should be talking about Roundup. And if you read all of these documents that we've gotten from Monsanto and see all the sneaky stuff that they do, one of the most fearful things for them is that somebody is going to do testing on Roundup. Because even in their most private emails to each other, they're talking about nobody's ever tested this, and we know that the formulation is much, much more toxic than the glyphosate. Because the formulation has all these surfactants in it and adjuvants in it that are intended to allow the glyphosate to slip through the bark of the plant and through the coating of the plant, and they allow also those same chemicals also enable that molecule to penetrate the blood-brain barrier and get into the human system, and they're toxic themselves.
We need... Yeah, so why the hell are we doing this? Right? Why in the world are we protecting Bayer and not American families and farmers? That, to me, is an issue that I think is deserving of our attention. If you agree, share this video. Thank you so much for checking out our vitamin shop. Check out wearechange.shop. Get some Liposol vitamin C. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.